Hey there, nerds and geeks. Today we're looking at The 13th Warrior, a movie which bombed at the box office and is still overlooked today, and quite undeservingly so. This movie takes the real life figure Ahmad bin Fadlan and transitions his historical encounter with the Rus into a retelling of the Beowulf story. There's adventure, horror, action, with elements of intrigue and mystery surrounding the villainous Vendels. The 13th Warrior is an adaptation of the novel Eaters of the Dead, and it comes from Michael Crichton. You might not be familiar with the name, but he's the man behind Jurassic Park, Congo, Westworld, Twister, and several others. It was directed by John McTiernan, who did Predator, Die Hard, and The Hunt for Red October, although some of the reshoots were done by Crichton himself. There was some meddling done with this movie. The studio originally dictated that it be PG-13, and that came with changing the title from Eaters of the Dead to The 13th Warrior, and the film was originally shot for this rating. But then the studio changed their minds and wanted an R-rated movie, so they added in blood and gore after the fact. Now, I really wish they had decided outright from the beginning to make it R, and not for any harsher language or sexuality, but so the blood and gore could be better implemented into the horror and action of the movie. Jerry Goldsmith brings a nice, good score into the mix. His main theme is fantastic, but some of his other beats are near copies of the score of The Mummy. And this is because he took over last minute as composer of this movie, shortly following his time on the Brendan Fraser classic, so all's forgiven, I guess. Antonio Banderas leads this ensemble of mostly Norwegian and Swedish actors, and his performance here is more reserved than what you're typically used to, especially at this time the movie came out, but he absolutely delivers and grounds the whole piece. This film hinges on his character being a conduit through which the audience learns about the strange old ways of the Northmen, as well as their mythic enemies, ways which are coming to an end. Each of the 13 carries their own presence into the movie. Even the lesser of the bunch get a couple lines and moments to distinguish themselves, and that comes with this great decision to give each character a distinct look, both in armor and physical appearance. There's also a good balance to them as individual characters and as a team with a history. They all bring something to the table and deploy a set of unspoken and genuinely good tactics. Vladimir Kulich gives a truly stoic performance as Bullwife, which I think is the best adaptation of the Beowulf character put to film, as well as this movie being the best adaptation of the poem itself. However, Dennis Storhoy's Herger is a true standout of this movie. He's certainly my favorite character and the warmest of the 13. He really takes Banderas under his wing as a little brother. I really wish the guy crossed over into more American movies, but someday I'll finally get around to watching a few of his Norwegian flicks. There's also a good collection of side characters, none of whom drag the movie down. A few even elevate their scenes, such as King Hrothgar, Omar Sharif's Melchizedek, and even the old witch who guides Bullwife. As antagonists, the Vendels are compelling and scary villains, both in what the audience and characters see of them, their appearance and brutality, and what we simply do not know about them. Even after some of the mystery is unveiled, there remains plenty unexplained, but I think this is a good thing. I do wish we got to see more of the mother though, but that's really it. Ahmed was a carefree poet who got banished from Mecca to be an ambassador to the north, where he then gets shanghaied into being the 13th warrior of this quest to aid the Northmen's allies. The 13 journey a long way to contend against ravenous bearmen, a fire worm.
What?
The fire worm. The fire serpent.
Fire serpent. A dragon.
And even political infighting. The enemies leave none of their dead behind and at first are difficult to track, further adding to their mystery. And the village they protect hardly has any men between 15 and 50. But it's not Ahmed who defeats the main antagonist. Now that belongs to Bullwife because this is truly his story. We simply view it from Ahmed's perspective so that we can learn these cultures through his eyes, and because he has the strongest growth as a character. He has this arc of becoming a man and a warrior, whereas Bullwife is more of a static character. Couple that with the way the characters share their cultures with one another, it's very fitting to the real life and written experience of Fodline, as well as a good use of the outsider trope. There's also a mini romantic fling in this that doesn't overtake anything or overstay its welcome, just a nice additional flavor to the mix. There's very satisfying action in The 13th Warrior, both from a choreography and effects standpoint, and from how it's structured into and affects the story. We get the 13 defending the Great Hall and later sneaking through the enemy's lair at night. We get two major assaults on the village, one at night and then one in the rain. There's even a good old judicial duel thrown in there. This movie has some of the best uses of language in film. We start with hearing the Muslim characters in English, since through Ahmed, we're anchored in their perspective as they struggle to communicate with the Northmen. Omar Sharif's character tries a couple languages before the use of Greek leads them to Herger, who still does not understand them, but the use of the word Rex finally sparks a connection to Latin, which they both speak. So this whole procession is then relayed through Norwegian to Latin via Herger, and from Latin to English via Melchizedek. Following this, we see a montage of travel and campsites as Ahmed listens to the Rus. Slowly, phrases drift from Norwegian to English as we shift into the Northmen's perspective, with Faudeline learning and then speaking their language. It's a very thoughtful way to incorporate language barriers into the story, while also making the protagonist out to be skillfully intelligent in a natural way. Find this movie and buy it, especially if you like Vikings or any period fantasy movie that centers around a quest. It really is a gem and deserves more attention. There's good characters, good storytelling, and it really delivers on all fronts. Well, that's it for this episode. If there's any movies you'd like me to look at, let me know in the comments below or visit mcmdebates.com. The next Recommends video will be about one of your suggestions. Thank you all for watching. I'm The Real Deal. Goodbye.
Lo, there do I see my father. Lo, there do I see my mother and my sisters and my brothers. Lo, there do I see the line of
My people, back to the beginning.
Lo, they do call to me. They bid me take my place among them.
in the halls of Valhalla.
With brave,
They live